All right. So the Israeli Supreme Court rules the slacking ultra-Orthodox must serve in the military. No more sucking off the teat of your secular countrymen. Now they're going to have to put their payas where their mouth is. Israel's Supreme Court ruled unanimously Tuesday that ultra-Orthodox yeshiva students must be conscripted into the Israeli military and are no longer eligible for substantial government benefits, a decision that could lead to the collapse of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's ruling coalition. Now this is all very interesting if you've been getting fed the line that Israel is a Western-style democracy and not some kind of weird apartheid state with theocratic elements. Now, remember, in spite of what they want to tell you about pride, there is no gay marriage in Israel. A lot of them go to Cyprus to get married. There is not even interfaith marriage in Israel because marriages can only be performed by the rabbinate, which has a very extreme viewpoint about who can get married, so they will not perform any kind of interfaith marriage. Now, the state will recognize the marriage once you have it abroad, but you cannot actually get married in that way. But another theocratic element here is they subsidize this religious community. State funds, until now, now this court has ruled that they want to put an end to it. But they have been financing this religious community that also has an exemption from military service. The ruling follows decades of controversy over the role in Israeli society for the ultra-Orthodox, also known as Haredim, which has mushroomed from a small minority into a million-strong community making up more than 12% of the population, because those people have a lot of kids. Yes. Ultra-Orthodox political parties have provided crucial backing to Netanyahu in exchange for their exemption from military service and hundreds of millions of dollars for their institutions. But in a country where military service is mandatory and battlefields are expanding, Israelis from across the political spectrum have demanded a change to the status quo, and on Tuesday, the Supreme Court made it official. In the midst of a grueling war, the burden of inequality is harsher than ever and demands a solution, said Justice Uzi Vogelman, one of 9 judges that signed onto the ruling. Haredim leaders expressed defiance, saying their religious studies comprise the spiritual backbone of the nation.
Oh, yeah, you know it to look at it. Yeah.
You guys are really imparting a the enlightened philosophy.
Really setting the tone over there, yeah.
When people think of Israel, the first thing they think of is the Golden Rule.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no force in the world that can disconnect the people of Israel from Torah study, and anyone who has tried in the past has failed miserably, said Aryeh Deri, chairman of the ultra-Orthodox Shas party, in response to the ruling. The ultra-Orthodox receive government subsidies for privately run schools, where some students devote their lives to studying the Torah, as well as other religious and social organizations. The community is largely autonomous and insulated from the rest of society. Few members work, pay taxes, or serve in the military. With Israel now enmeshed in its longest war to date in Gaza and a possible second war looming in Lebanon, the justices said the country can no longer afford to exempt them from their duties as citizens. The decision follows a similar Supreme Court ruling in March when it ordered a halt to state subsidies for ultra-Orthodox yeshivas where students study instead of enlisting in the military. Mikkel Fuhr, the mother of 2 soldiers, said she was very happy to hear news of the court's ruling Tuesday. She and thousands like her banded together last year to create Mothers on the Front, a group devoted to fighting the ultra-Orthodox exemption. Quote, "I've been against this injustice for years," she said, In several elections in the past, I voted for people who had that as one of their platforms. Israel's grinding war in Gaza has killed more than 37,000 Palestinians, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, which does not distinguish between combatants and civilians, but says the majority of the dead are women and children. Troops continue to battle Hamas across the length of the enclave, and Netanyahu said this week that fighting would continue even after the end of major combat operations. Oh, I wonder
so you're
why.
starting to really notice here that Israel is less about Judaism and more about militarism and imperialism. I mean, if this doesn't illustrate that in broad daylight, what does?
Well,
Religious exemption? Come on. Get out there. We got work to do.
Get out, get in the fight. Yeah. Come in for the big win, boys.
Yeah.
On the border with Lebanon, Israel has been exchanging deadly fire with Iranian-backed Hezbollah militants, and both sides have said they are preparing for war. As more Israeli soldiers are killed, at least 333, according to the IDF, and others return home nursing physical and psychological wounds, resentment toward the Haredim has been mounting. According to a survey by the Jewish People Policy Institute, a nonpartisan think tank based in Jerusalem, 81% of Jewish Israelis favor changing the ultra-Orthodox exemption, with 45% supporting coercive measures and 36% preferring persuasive methods.
I gotta say, that is some Jewy shit there to split hairs between coercive and persuasive. That sounds like the mafia. I didn't coerce them. I persuaded them.
Right? Yeah. How exactly would you persuade them?
That's like my dad would say. I didn't insist that I got a table away from the window. I asked them, right?
Shuki free. Yeah. Like what would you do to persuade them to go join?
Besides
the military?
coerce them. Yeah, exactly. Like, what is the difference
when
there?
Clearly the entire community is up in arms about the idea that they might have to go and get their hands dirty in this settler colonial project that they benefit from. Friedman.
That's how we Jews roll. We don't coerce you, we persuade you. Hey, I was gonna pick up the check. He moved first. We all just sit there still and wait for the other guy to move.
73% prefer passive aggressive monologuing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, right.
Well, it's okay. We'll go do your fighting for you. No, you study Talmud. It's fine.
No, I insist. I'll fight. No, I'll fight. You sit there.
It's all right. Come on. You take it easy. You take a load off. You're working very hard there.
Yes, exactly. Passive aggressive haggling. It's the majority. Yeah, indeed.
Shuki Friedman, vice president of the JPPI, said the ultra-Orthodox now face a political dilemma. Quote, on the one hand, they want to prevent this disaster from their perspective. But on the other hand, if the government will collapse and go to elections, the result might be less good and they can get even less of a compromise for their side. Polling has consistently shown that Netanyahu would struggle to pull together a ruling coalition without the support of ultra-Orthodox parties who have also served as critical linchpins in previous governments. A statement Tuesday from the Prime Minister's Likud party said that the Supreme Court ruling was relevant for only a short period of time and that it was strange it issued its ruling as the government was pushing forward an older law, once rejected by the ultra-Orthodox, that would involve partial enlistment of the Haredim. Ultra-Orthodox politicians under Netanyahu's leadership will probably resort to stalling tactics to delay recruitment, said Yitzhak Krambi, a Haredi activist who has worked to integrate members of the community into Israel's high-tech sector. Quote, the Haredi leaders need to make a decision about if they want to be a part of Israeli society or just guests. Now we are in a moment that is not only about destiny. After the Holocaust, we came here and we built a country, but what is our mission? Okay. It seems to me, look, we're not experts on Israeli politics. It seems to me this is a case of where are they going to go? Right. If they're not supporting Netanyahu, who are they going to support?
Yeah. Yeah, no, but look, I mean, if this is not a perfect demonstration of the actual like philosophy behind Israel, I don't know what is. I won't call it a spirituality. Israel has no spirituality. If it did, they wouldn't be doing this, right? This is a country with entirely terrestrial aims, right? Lands and conquest, which is why we love them so much, because that's what's in it for us, right? Where you think the United States of America has some spiritual investment in the flourishing of a Jewish state? No. It's about the land, it's about the money, it's about the resources in and around that land. And this just shows that. I mean, why are they quarreling over this? Or, like, why would this be an issue if first and foremost on their list of things to do is not to conquer, right? There's
Right.
nothing. There's nothing enlightened about it. There's nothing spiritual about it.
Well, it's a bizarre, I'm reading Elon Pape's book, 10 Myths About Israel, I believe it's called. And it's very interesting, the forces that came together to create Israel. The reason you have these kibbutzim is the real competition for Zionist ideology in the late 19th and early 20th century was Marxism and socialism. A lot of Jews were at the forefront of, we know in New York, the Jewish immigrants were the backbone of the union movement. And those unionists were very often Marxist, Leninists, and socialists. It was the same in Europe. So that was really the competing ideology. Eventually, figures like Ben-Gurion, who wound up being the first prime minister of Israel, co-opted a lot of Marxist Leninist language and thinking and fused it with Zionism. That faction is how you end up with these kibbutzim. At the same time, to get religious people on board, which wound up being a kind of Brahmin caste, they gave them these special carve-outs and exemptions, which at one time, when you had this small priestly class, it wasn't as controversial, but now because they have 8 million kids, because you have so many, this has become increasingly controversial. And then the other element was bending the knee to the Western colonial masters that ultimately were behind Zionism for the reason that RFK said very frankly, they're our aircraft carrier. They saw that as a win-win. A lot of these Christian Zionists were deeply anti-Semitic. It was a win-win in that we can have them there as a lever in the Middle East for our interests. At the same time, you get the Jews out of here. You go over there. It's a perfect solution. Everybody's happy. And you're seeing, as Israeli society, I would argue, comes apart, you're seeing all these elements exposed in a very raw form.
Please clap.